I'm going to talk today about the eclipse coming up. We are between the eclipses now. We had one a couple days ago in the sign of Pisces, which is about endings and beginnings. And the next eclipse is coming up in Virgo. The time between eclipses is sometimes a little bit tumultuous. The eclipses are these seasonal resets that often serve to trigger certain areas of our lives to go through transformation. And this allows for a lot to be processed through the next chapter. Eclipse season is generally not the best time to make big decisions, sign contracts, etc., travel. Though, if that's already in the flow for you, don't fear, don't go against the flow, just flow with it. I might be able to look at some charts later in the video, so if you want to put your information out there and we can see some charts, maybe we'll try to do it. So first of all, let's do a refresh of the last eclipse. In Pisces, this is endings and beginnings. So this can be a thematic thing as we are all moving through this north node in that Pisces. Before the north node moves into the next sign, Aquarius, we are witnessing a lot of transformation, a lot of mystical experiences come with Pisces. A sort of spiritual seeking comes with that sign of Pisces. In order for something new to begin, something has to end. And in order for something to end, something new has to begin. Pisces is that duality. So where Pisces showed up in your chart is kind of signifying what was really going through that sort of rebirth phase. The North Node, which is in Pisces, is a planet that brings a lot of desire, a lot of craving, and whatever area that shows up in our chart is where big things are coming. The next eclipse is affecting the sign of Virgo. The South Node, or K2, is always the reverse of the North Node. It's what we're letting go of. So depending on where Virgo is in your chart, that's what something that has to be perhaps renounced, transformed, let go of, reassessed. We get to the deeper levels of whatever that thing is, and we'll look at the aspects of that in just a moment. Somebody asked if how I enjoyed the eclipse, and I really slept through it. Before I used to watch eclipses a lot, and now after watching many eclipses and experiencing perhaps a lot of intense energy move through it, sometimes it's a cathartic energy, sometimes it's a very charging or riveting energy, but I've grown to want to be in a more stable energy, and this is what a lot of the traditions believe. The Vedic tradition believes not to look at the eclipse, not to eat a couple of hours before or after the eclipse, and to just be in total prayer and meditation. And while I'm not that strict, I, after many experiences, don't choose to look at the eclipse. The next eclipse is not going to be visible except in parts of South America, so there's no real concern there. And not to fear if you did look at the eclipse, but that's just what I've come to where I'm choosing to focus my energy now. So the energy of this next upcoming eclipse, again, it's in that sign of oh, I'm getting the things all mixed up. In Vedic, this is in Virgo, and I'm doing the Western chart now simply because more people are familiar with it. I do Vedic and Western. It's actually in the sign of Libra. And how can I move back and forth between these systems? Well, how can you go back and forth between speaking two languages? I speak English and Spanish, and compared to a lot of people in the world, two languages is nothing. And that's really all the difference between these systems are translations of the same energy. But anyway, so actually, we're getting eclipsed in the sign of Libra. And so this is something about our relationships. Our relationships are moving through some transformation, some transition. It's still in this theme of self versus other. And this is probably the last eclipse in the Western sign of Libra. So something about letting go of perhaps leaning too far into the other and coming more into this self energy is part of what this eclipse axis is about. And now, what is being aspected is Mars in Cancer is creating a square relationship to all of the planets that are in that sign of Libra. Mercury is there with the eclipse, so there's a very strong effect on the mind, on the mental, intellectual nature. This can have us more pensive, and Saturn is in an inconjunct aspect. So the inconjunct or 150-degree angle is a sign of some tension, some awkwardness, um, something that isn't quite agreeing. Whereas that square from Mars is like a burst of energy that could perhaps be experienced in an aggressive or harsh way. But none of these are bad. It's just the square is like a spur moving us forward. But it's coming from this planet Mars, who's in its sign of debilitation, Cancer. And this causes Mars energy to be way more introspective and less bright and shining as it might be. This is a replacement for some passive aggression, and that's going to show up in whatever house Cancer connects with in your chart. So it'll affect everyone in a different way. Whereas Saturn is in the sign of Pisces, which has a lot to do with spirituality and transformation, mystical connections. There are some aspects to the from Jupiter and from Pluto, but these aspects aren't super complete, and so I don't fully consider them that active in the eclipse, and I'm going to be looking more at the relationship between Saturn and Mars because they are very, very close to the eclipsed sun. So let's look at this for every planet or every ascendant. And of course, if you have your moon or your sun in this sign, that'll also slightly have an effect on your chart. But ascendant is a little bit more powerful. For the Aries ascendant, this is happening in your seventh house. So it's definitely directly about relationships. This can be a romantic relationship or it can be a business partnership. There might be some stress that's coming from your family or from situations, disagreements about your home, your living situation that impact your relationship. Also, there could be some stress or tension coming from your bigger friend or your network, or you might be disagreeing about certain issues with a partner or a business partner that connect with how you two together relate to the bigger picture of the world. And so these tensions may be big, they may be small. It's ultimately leading you to some rebirth and reevaluation of your relationship that hopefully serves you in coming into a state of more balance. Libra. For Taurus, this is bringing the eclipse into your sixth house, which is the house of health issues, enemies, legal troubles, and the personal efforts towards health and well-being. So it might affect any one of those areas. There could be some challenges with disagreements with people. Enemies could come into your life. The enemies might be coming from your circle of friends, and there might be those sorts of issues again from the network, from the community, impacting how you are proceeding through some issues with conflict, or it could be affecting your health. There could be some stress from friends that somehow affect your health. And it's a good time for the Taurus ascendant to be really careful and cautious in how they proceed, and know that when it affects the sixth house, there's a tendency for there to be bursts of anger, insecurity. Sixth house placements definitely need to watch out for their suspicions turning into paranoia, and make sure that what they are thinking is true before they jump to any conclusions. For the Gemini ascendant, this is going to be taking place in your fifth house. And the fifth house is the house of decision making. So this could be a time when your mind is a little bit more clouded. The fifth house is also connected with digestion. So there could be some challenges to your digestive system. The fifth house is about creativity. So hopefully the ideal thing is you're bringing new creative projects birthed into the world. And so the square from Mars is coming from the second house. There could be perhaps some financial areas that are causing stress. And then there is the square, the in conjunction from Saturn that's coming from the 10th house. So something about your career. There might be some stress in your career that's impacting your decision making, your creativity, and bringing that into balance will really help out if you are a Gemini ascendant. The Cancer ascendant has Mars transiting the ascendant, and this is bringing frustrations and irritation directly onto your mind. The Cancer ascendants might be a little bit extra frustrated through this Mars transit, but the positive side of Mars transiting the ascendant is that it gives you willpower and ambition to move forward and ahead. Mars in a square to these planets, which would be positioned in your fourth house, means that there could be a rebirth or transformation in the area of your home or family. Saturn square comes from the ninth house. So something about your belief systems, and your perhaps your ninth house can be father, ninth house can be travel from a long distance place, or spiritual beliefs. Any of these areas can be impacting your home and family situation and causing there to be some level of stress. But hopefully you are able to work through this with great ease. The Leo ascendant is experiencing the eclipse in the third house. Third house is the house of play, pleasure, learning, effort, hard work. It's Gemini's house. So this house can go a lot of different ways. This could signify learning something new, or as it's the house of friends and lovers, it could perhaps bring some blessing or challenge in that area. Mars's influence is coming from the 12th house, so there's perhaps some unrest for the Gemini ascendant and the deep recesses of your mind. This might be you're not sleeping well, you're having strange dreams. There is the Saturn in the 8th house, this transit. The long transit of Saturn could be bringing you through some unseen territories, uncharted territories. You might have your head really in the mystery of things and looking through the deep unconscious, and that could be creating some of that stress within those relationships. So hopefully you find balance and ease, and this upcoming eclipse is not too difficult. The Virgo ascendant has the eclipse happening in the second house, which is the house of resources, money, possessions, your values. It's also the house of the mouth, what you say and what you eat. So there can be perhaps unconsciousness around your mouth at this time. It's good to, when there's a second house transit, make sure you're eating well and make sure that you think before you speak, because Kate, especially K2 in the second house, might be thoughtless with the words or might say something that later leads to issues. Um, Being careful with money is very important for the Virgo ascendant with the eclipse coming in there. But Mars in the 11th house is a good support for money, and there can be some seriousness in relationships for the Virgo ascendant at this time because Saturn is moving through the 7th house, which is a strong place for Saturn. It creates strong bonds and relationships and business partnerships, though it also can be a bit challenging at this eclipse time because there's again that in conjunction from Saturn. So hopefully Virgo ascendants have a great eclipse. We have Libra ascendant who is having the eclipse on their ascendant. And when the eclipse happens on your ascendant, it's kind of like a personal rebirth. Your mind goes through a purification, you shed and transform things. And the square from Mars is coming from your 10th house. Your public image might be something that's on your mind now and causing you a bit of stress. And there is also that Saturn in the 6th house, which can be perhaps legal issues or struggles with enemies that are also contributing to this rebirth that you're going through as a Libra ascendant. But stay strong, Libras. You always find a way to balance in the end. Scorpio ascendants having the eclipse in the 12th house. And, ooh, you know, those 12th house moments. Luckily, Scorpio has already moved through the South Node, moving through it long before, and now in the 12th house, the South Node is just causing some hidden psychic disturbances. There can be some struggles in with beliefs, some new spiritual growth happening for Scorpio with Mars moving through that 9th house. Saturn in the 5th house is perhaps bringing you to focus on your creative interests more. But again, as that 5th house is also our connection to our belly and our gut, Saturn's presence there might mean there's some struggle for Scorpio at that time. And decision making can be a little bit challenged through that Saturn placement. So the important thing for a 12th house transit is to meditate, go within, and let yourself experience this as a sort of psychic rebirthing for Scorpio ascendants. All right. Sagittarius ascendant has the eclipse moving through the 11th house. The 11th house is about networks, communities, the big picture. And this South Node there can be helping you reassess your relationship with the big picture and community, reassess what you're doing for the world, reassess perhaps your own humanitarian ideals. There's a challenge for Sagittarius ascendant coming from the, can I math right? The 8th house, Mars in the 8th house is again a hidden house. So this could be hidden psychic force, hidden aggression, misunderstood use of power. Mars is through its connection with Scorpio, sort of associated with the 8th house. So hopefully that isn't too intense. And then Saturn is moving through the 4th house. So this can be some seriousness or coldness in your family. You might be experiencing some changes in your family, or perhaps members of your family are going through some suffering. And that's causing you to have this sort of interesting challenge to your 3rd house, or sorry, 11th house. Reading it in the reverse direction. So your family challenge might in turn be affecting your community or affecting the way you see things in the big picture. Good luck, Sagittarius ascendant. You will find a way through. You always do. Capricorn ascendant is having the eclipse in the 10th house. And that is the house of your public image and your reputation. Can be a career change. It can be a loss of career for Capricorn ascendant. Mars in the 7th house is bringing a bit of tension in your relationships. That's also affecting how this change in your reputation or image is looking. Saturn in the third house, we're seeing that there's a bit of challenge with the learning, the friendships that also might affect your image. So this is an important time for Capricorn ascendants to be having balanced relations and making sure they communicate things really clearly, speak from the heart. And as you do that, hopefully all of these things work out, and you might find yourself in a different position than you were before, and hopefully it's a better one. The Aquarius ascendant is experiencing the eclipse in the ninth house. This might bring about a change in your beliefs. It might bring about new spiritual undertakings. It might cause you to let go of some beliefs. It might cause you to go on a trip, travel, something new. There is Saturn in the second house that might be causing you to feel a little bit cautious with your money or experiencing some loss financially. Don't worry too much about it, but do stay aware and know that that is affecting you astrologically. There's also Mars in the sixth house that might be causing you to have some conflicts. And the good thing about Mars in the sixth house is that that gives you the power to overcome the conflicts that arise. The will and determination allows you to move through them with grace. So make sure that you stay strong as an Aquarius ascendant and open your mind to new possibilities. You might find yourself going on a new adventure sometime soon. But of course, wait until the eclipse is over to decide where that might be. Pisces ascendant is having Saturn on their ascendant, which is never a comfortable experience. That's reassessing your relationship with your body and making sure you're making the right choices for your body. Then the eclipse itself is happening in your eighth house. So this can be a psychic awakening, a psychic rebirth. There can be a lot of transformation with the eighth house eclipse. K2, the south node, is associated with that eighth house naturally. So it's actually a good placement for this to be happening, as it can signify going deeper into that psychic realm. The Mars aspect is coming from the fifth house of creativity, so there could be some creative influence that's affecting this deeper psychic exploring. So there you go. That's all of the zodiac signs, and that's the information. And of course, this is super vague, as any sort of horoscope really is, but it's specific enough that there hopefully is some gems of wisdom for you in there. And if you want to go a lot deeper, you have to look at all of the placements in the chart and how they affect your planets and where it's lining up. So I'm available for readings if you want to see very specifically in your chart, where do these energies play out? And we can also look at how these energies might affect you throughout the next year, doing a year ahead reading and assessing how the movement of the planets and the time periods might be affecting all of the little details in your life. I look forward to connecting with you if that calls to you. And for eclipse season, I'm offering special packages. So reach out to me if you are interested in that. And let's see what it says in the little comment zone. Always love comments. Live chat. Leo ascendant, definitely in the mood to learn and do new things. That's awesome, Amanda. Love it. And I forgot to mention the live stream will be on Wednesday today instead of a different day, Friday as it was before. So anyway, I look forward to connecting with you all later. Hope you have a really beautiful day. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.